again.
All right, I can't see shit. No.
Here we go.
Awesome.
So we need to start acting like a big boy football. It's time for the jet tax to die. You're listening to Weapons Hot on SoundCloud.com and the Sports War Radio Network.
Darnold fires one into the end zone. It is caught. That's a jet touchdown.
And now, here are your hosts, CJ DeSimone and Kevin Jackson.
What's going on, Jets Nation?
Yes.
Didn't I tell you I am excited? Welcome to another edition of Weapons Hot, a New York Jets fan broadcast. I am your host, CJ the Painkiller DeSimone, and I am joined, as always, by my co-pilot, my right-seater, and one of my very best friends, by the way. And I've got some interesting intro music for him. So let's play that and get that keyed up here.
Let's go.
And of course, no, it's not going to work. So, never mind. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Kevin Jackson.
Weapons hot. Weapons hot. Once again, CJ, man, this is dope. Thank you for having me back. I appreciate it. It's a great day. I'm really excited, man. This is a wonderful opportunity for us. Great platform. I'm sorry I missed you guys last week. Be honest with you, I had some technical difficulties of my own, but we're trying to work through these COVID things as they come. CJ, I'm amped up, man. What do we do? Let's get it started. Where do we start?
Absolutely. So, you know, there are a couple of things that I wanted to talk about tonight, and one of them is going to be obviously centered around the New York Jets defense. Now, you and I, a couple of shows ago, we had a wonderful gentleman on by the name of Robbie Sabo, who did some offensive assessments for us. And you know, we actually had a nice conversation with him. But I actually want to now shift gears on the defensive side of the ball now. So I've got the current roster / depth chart in front of me, courtesy of CBSSports.com, and I'm going to throw a few names out there for you, and I want to see if you agree or disagree with the placement that CBS Sports has listed as far as the depth chart is concerned. And I see you already shaking your head over there, which means that you being a former defensive player, okay, I'm sure that you probably have your thoughts that you would like to share with all of us. So that's why I felt it important to save this part for you. So
awesome.
All right, so let's start with the all-important defensive line. All right. Okay. So at left defensive end, we've got Henry Anderson listed as the starter, Nathan Shepard as his backup, and then third being Jordan Willis. Yeah. Agree, disagree, like that order, not like that order?
You know, at this point in time, I'll be honest, just because I think Henry Anderson does have the age and the veteran, I guess, benefit of the doubt over Nathan Shepard, who honestly played some of his best ball last season. You know, I think anybody who paid attention and really was not only following him because of him being a draft pick, but because of, you know, the backstory and all of that, I think he outplayed Henry Anderson for the most part last season. We'll see how that works. I'll be honest with you, it's 1A either way. Until Nathan Shepard shows that consistently he can be better than Henry Anderson. Henry Anderson does have the edge. As far as the listing is concerned, that doesn't mean anything as of right now. We haven't played a game. They haven't played a snap. We haven't seen a stretch. We haven't seen anything yet. So until that happens, I'll go with the list. I'll say that it's okay. I'll accept it. But were this a regular situation, unfortunately, because of COVID, it's not. Were this a regular situation, I do believe Nathan Shepard has a really good opportunity to overtake him and quite possibly could end up being the starter. We'll see how it works out. But for right now, I'll take it the way that it is. I do expect to see a swap. The Wills kid, I'll just be honest, I'm not sure. Until we see more from him, I'm not sure what to expect anyway.
Yeah, that's true. I think, though, I would flip-flop the starter in second. I think that Nathan Shepard I would start at left defensive end, and put Anderson as a backup. Jordan Willis, again, I completely agree with you. Didn't really see enough of him to really make a fair assessment of it. So until training camp comes and until he has the opportunity to get out there and to show exactly what he can do with this Greg Williams defense, it'd be kind of unfair to kind of pop him in the mix as of yet. But again, it's going to be TBD, to be determined. So,
exactly.
All right. So now at nose tackle, the starter is Steve McClendon. Backing him up is Foley Fatukasi. And then behind him, you've got Sterling Johnson and Dominique Davis.
Yeah. I don't even know who the last two guys are. I'll just be honest with you. Foley is a beast. But McClendon, man, McClendon is probably, I think, one of the most underrated team leaders that we have right now. Not only does he play well all the time, but he's a vocal leader. He's one of the guys that you can count on to kind of do what it is that he needs to, or say what it is that he needs to say. I like that. Foley's a beast, though, man. Again, this is one of them situations where we have a young guy who's really making his name, who has some film to say that he's got some talent. We'll see how it works out, though. McClendon, I think, is still going to be the guy, and I don't think there should be any questions about if he is going to start or should he start. They're both going to play at a high level. We noticed that last season. How Greg Williams decides to use them, we'll see how that works out. But I do agree. If we're just going to look at the name, I don't really think there should be a question about that. McClendon has earned the spot. Foley is looking to push him, but everybody else behind that, they're actually probably going to need to make themselves known in whatever way it is that they'll have an opportunity to this season, if we do have a preseason at all.
Yeah, I completely agree. Although, I have to say one thing. One of my sleeper picks to really have a breakout season is going to be Foley Fatukasi. And I wouldn't be surprised if you see him start to get a little bit more playing time other than Steve McClendon. Because, dude, I really think that Foley Fatukasi is primed and ready to just completely take offensive linemen by storm. I went on the Let's Talk Jets podcast with good friends of the show, Tyson Roush, Kevin Sirkin, and also Mr. Tyrone Johnson, who's also been a guest on Weapons Hot in previous episodes. And one of the things that I had said was I really think that Foley Fatukasi is ready to rip somebody's head off and poop down their neck. He is ready. He's ready to take that next step, and I think in this Greg Williams defense, now that he's had the opportunity to really absorb and really chew on the defense, got the opportunity to play last year, really showed some good chops, I think he's ready to take that next step. I really do.
Yeah.
So
I agree. Listen, Foley has some film, man, that really it makes you really think that this kid is gonna, like you say, he's gonna turn the corner. We really have a pretty solid nucleus. It's just in the names that we've discussed so far. I think we got some guys that we can be excited about going forward.
Yeah, I completely agree. And another thing too, Sterling Johnson and Dominique Davis. Although they are a couple of unknowns, I really think that they still have the opportunity to come in and to make their presence felt, and could potentially be good quality starting depth guys in case a McClendon were to go down. So we'll see.
We do have an opportunity right now, and I think, again, just as a realist and somebody who looks at these things and says, we're coming from a situation where our roster was really naked a few years ago. Like, we had a few guys sprinkled here and there, but the second tier, the third tier guys, they just weren't there. Some of these guys have an opportunity to step
our roster
up.
Was bare. Bare.
It was.
I mean, dude. We may as well got a couple of bums from under the bridge and brought him in and put jerseys on them.
We did a few times. Think about that. We did a few times.
I think the same
these
thing
guys
could
have
have been
an
a cop.
opportunity to step up.
Right. It's the truth. So, all right. So moving on, right defensive end, we got Quinnen Williams as the projected starter, John Franklin Myers, and then in third, you've got Kyle Phillips and Bronson Kufasi. Both Phillips and Kufasi, very interesting. Both did show a lot of promise in limited play time last year, and I really think that they have an opportunity to really step up and make some noise in this roster. What do you think?
No, I agree with you wholeheartedly in that. I actually did like Kyle. I thought that when given an opportunity, I think he showed exactly why it is that he deserved the spot on the roster. Just to wrap this up, because this is really simple. If Quentin Williams doesn't show up this year and doesn't play well, the noise around if he's a bust or if it was worth it, for us to pick him where it is that we did is going to become deafening. So I'm expecting to see him step up. How high does he, elevate this season? It's going to be a really important for us, especially because there's going to be some other, questionable spots on the defense going into after the COVID and contract seasons and all of that. I think Quentin Williams has an opportunity this season to step up. If he doesn't, it's going to be really interesting to see how that changes how people start to look at him and how people start to discuss our defensive line in general as a whole.
Right, I completely agree with you. I mean, Quentin Williams is primed to take a step forward, and I think that he will. But he definitely is going to feel a little bit of pressure with especially the way that Kyle Phillips and Bronson Kufasi played last year. So I don't think that Quentin's spot is guaranteed by any stretch of the imagination, but I think that the gap between Williams, Kufasi, and Phillips is a lot closer than people are really giving looks at. Now, as far as John Franklin Myers is concerned, we really haven't seen much tape on him, or I haven't seen much tape on him, so it'd be completely unfair to give an assessment on something that I haven't seen. But
exactly.
I would probably move maybe John Franklin Myers from the backup to Quentin Williams. Possibly I'd move him to the third spot, and I'd put Phillips second. And maybe if there was like a 2 and 2A, that's where I would put Kufasi, if it were up to me.
I would agree with that. And if I didn't make that clear, I do think Phillips is number 2 for me. It's going to be really exciting to see how Quentin shapes up, though, man. I mean, we've seen the social media posting. We've seen the guys come and say that, they've seen him firsthand, show that he's putting in the work physically.
Oh, yeah, he's been an absolute gym rat this past offseason. He has done nothing but working on getting his physique, working on technique. So it's going to be interesting to see whether or not he could actually take that
and translate it into actual production on the field.
Right.
The kid's a beast. I mean, we saw the college film, and you're looking at the college film, and you're saying, wow, I mean, this is what jumps out at you as why he was such a high draft pick. Why, even though there were some questions, should we have taken, the other guy who ended up in Buffalo that season? Should we have taken him instead of actually taking Quentin? But yeah, man, who I really liked. I'll be honest, I did have both of those guys as if we took either of them, I would have been happy. Ed's done a little bit more so far than Quentin's done, but this is an opportunity right now for Quentin to solidify, that value. It's not like we haven't seen him play well. We just haven't seen him play well consistently. We haven't seen him do enough to justify that high first round pick this season. To your point, if he does it, we're in good shape. If not, man, it's going to be a little ugly going off into the next season.
Yeah, I completely agree. I mean, there's going to be some time. It's going to be something that they're going to have to figure out. But again, with the limited playing time that they have for training camp, training camp opens up on July 28th. It's a short time away. So, and I know that later in the show, there's some other topics that I want to bring up in regards to NFL training camp, which I'm really interested to get your opinion on. So now we move from the defensive line now to the linebacking core. All right, so left inside linebacker, we've got C.J. Mosley as the starter. We've got B.J. Bello backing him up. And then behind B.J. Bello, you have James Burgess.
Okay. Wow, Burgess is number 3, huh? I think Burgess showed up quite a bit last season in a lot of film. I kind of was cautioned against just thinking that meant he played well, but if you're always around the ball, if you're always making tackles, it's really kind of hard to question that. So I would maybe swap Burgess and Bellows at 2 and 3. But come on now, C.J. Mosley, perennial Pro Bowler, All Pro, one of the top, if not the very best player at his position in the league. coming off an injury, obviously. But if the pedigree is the same, if what it is that we're expecting to get from him is what it is that we do get, then he'll be justified in that first spot. I do like Burgess. I really kind of do. I think he kind of sneaky jumps off the tape at you every now and again, even though he does put himself in position quite often. Bello, I don't know. We'll see how Bello works out. I'm not sure if I saw enough from him to say that I would put him ahead of Burgess, but I think we're pretty solid in our linebacking core. I mean, even the lower tier guys, they can still play ball. I wouldn't think they should be starters like what it is that we saw when Burgess had some opportunities last season. But as a backup, I think they're really solid. I think they're really strong. I think all three of these, or how many of our linebacker positions we want to break down. I honestly, I think this is going to be strong. I think we're going to have some competition for which one of these groups is going to be the strongest on the team.
Ladies and gentlemen, you're listening to Weapons Hot, a New York Jets fan broadcast on the Worldwide Sports Radio Network with CJ the Painkiller DeSimone and Mr. Kevin Jackson. So,
the legend.
Moving on, as we continue to talk about the defense, all right? Just really quick before I go to the right inside linebacker, I probably would flip Bello and Burgess, to be honest with you, behind Mosley, because I think that Burgess would be more adept to slide into the starter's role just in case if something were to happen to Mosley. It's going to be a question whether or not Mosley's going to come back 100%. He's already said he's 100%, but really what's going to dictate it is, like we've been saying for weeks now, when the rubber meets the road. So get out there on the practice field, get out there in a preseason game and show me what you can do. Shake that rust off, because if all goes the way that the NFL is predicting that it'll go, that the season should be starting on time. So I don't know. I'm kind of skeptical about that. I think it will, but I'm curious to see what training camp is going to look like.
This is going to be interesting, and I know we'll have this conversation again a few different times, just because I'm not sure if I've seen enough planned from the league at this point, from teams at the point, to say that I feel confident they'll be able to even work around some of the issues that we know are going to come. This is a situation that we've never lived through before. COVID-19, it's a big deal. The respiratory issues that come with this, some of the long-term effects that could possibly come even from people who may be asymptomatic, which is difficult to say because it's an internal thing. Too deep to go in, but just what I mean. I'm not sure if I've heard enough from the league to say that all of those things have been worked out enough for everyone to feel confident to say that games are going to continue. Teams are going to be able to move forward without hiccups. I think it's going to be shaky at best.
Yeah, I completely agree. Again, we talked about, I talked about last week about the NFL's protocol on COVID. So, again, I don't want to spoil that segment yet. Because we're kind of not at that point, because that's going to be a rather deep topic of conversation. So we'll keep moving on with the defense here. Now for right inside linebacker, they've got Avery Williamson as the starter, Patrick Owan, and Blake Cashman as the third. What's your thoughts on that?
I think you're going to have plenty of opportunities to get that young man's name right, because I think he's going to play well for us. I really do. I'll be honest with you. On Wasor, if I'm pronouncing it correctly, which I might be messing it up. Excuse me if I am. I'm a little nervous about putting Avery there, even though I want to put Avery there as the starter as of right now. If he does come back, if he is healthy, I think he makes us exponentially better in the middle. And I know that's a lot. I know that's big, but I just think the kid has it. Just in remembering what I was watching when he was coming from Tennessee, I really do think that the kid has it. I think he has exactly what it is that we need. And when you have such an intuitive defensive scheme like what Greg Williams wants to put together, surrounded by the players that we're going to have, I think Avery Williamson is going to be. I think he's going to be a stalwart for us. I pray that he comes back healthy because if he does, we're that much better. Onwuasor, again, a solid guy. If he needs to be a starter, I think that he could. I don't necessarily think that's the best possible place for him right now. But I do like him. I do think that he's going to contribute as well. We're gonna see what young Blake does, man. I saw some things last season. I think were positive. I just wasn't completely sold. I'll just be honest with you, as if he's starting caliber, solid backup at this point. The injury thing, excuse me, I'm sorry. The injury thing is questionable for him because he had some issues like in college also. Again, we've got guys. Our linebacking core is solid, man. These guys can ball. All of them, really. We've got some guys. I think that Mosley should be the starter. If Williamson is healthy, I think he should be the starter. Just to kind of touch where we're at right now. I think we're in good shape. I really do think we're in good shape in our linebacking core.
So let me ask you a question. All right, real quick, just a sidebar. Honest opinion, you see the Jets dealing Avery Williamson during training camp or not?
I honestly think that I think it's tempting because I think other teams recognize his value, and I think that if they give him something, especially understanding how we're still in a building role and still in a building model right now, depending upon what they give up, I think it would be difficult for Joe not to listen. I hope he doesn't trade him. I'll just be honest. I hope he doesn't trade him. But I think that he's valuable enough where if somebody comes calling, you have to listen. You kind of have to take it because I think that what somebody would offer would be worth us, accepting. Williamson's he's one of my guys, man. I really like the kid. I hope he plays well.
Yeah, I've got no problem with this depth chart right here. I mean, if Avery Williamson ends up staying on this roster and he is on the Week 1 roster, then I think this would be fine. I would have zero issue with this depth chart right here. Now we're going to the strong side linebacker. Jordan Jenkins is the starter. Frankie Louvu, and behind him, we've got Harvey Lange and Bryce Huff. Bryce Huff is interesting because he's somebody that the undrafted free agent making some noise, making some cases that he probably should have been drafted. Yeah. So. And believe it or not, he's actually starting to generate a little fan buzz with Jets Nation. So, what do you think?
You know what? I'm going to say this, and we kind of beat up Mike McCagnon, and I think rightfully so. But there's some players on this team, man, that have an opportunity.
Oh, dude, I do not apologize for beating up Mike McCagnon. I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, I don't think we should. Like I said, I don't think we should. But he brought some guys in, and with that being said, that's going to be another situation. Let's move because this is important for me. Huff. I think Huff really has an opportunity. This is a hard call because us having this conversation when there really hasn't been much football. There really hasn't been any football played, but there really hasn't been much way for us to even tell who's going to do what and where everybody is at, even mentally as of right now, because we really haven't started any team activities. I like the names. And again, this is just going back to the point that I was making about our linebacker being stacked right now. But adding Bryce Huff to the mix in this, man, this is the powder keg type of kid. You set him on fire and he explodes, and then it's a mess going forward, and our defense really is just that much better. I have an expectation that the depth chart for our linebacking core overall from each position, I think it's going to rotate as the season goes on. I think Greg Williams is going to find ways to use these guys. I think they're all going to demonstrate some of what makes them different and some of what makes them the same. But I really do think that we're stacked in this position, man. All of those names, all of those guys can contribute, whether it be, in rotation or special teams. I really do think we're set. This is a great conversation for us to have right now, though, CJ. It really is. Great names, great players. We have an opportunity to do some things.
Yeah, I completely agree. I don't have any issue with this depth chart the way that it's currently constructed. I am looking forward to seeing Bryce Huff take the field in a New York Jets uniform, and curious to see exactly what it is that he can bring to the table. And I think depending upon whether or not he can make the most out of his reps that he's given, both in training camp and also during preseason, if there is a preseason, it's going to be interesting to see how this kid pans out. So I'm excited. I'm excited. I can't wait.
I think we should be. We should be, CJ. We should be excited, but we're Jets fans. We should also be cautious.
Right.
I said this before, and just real quick, expectations are difficult for us. You know what I'm saying? Expectations are difficult for us, man.
Right. Well, that's because
whenever we
suffers
really
from a
think
concept out of post-traumatic stress disorder. So I mean, come on now.
Exactly.
We're Jet fans.
Exactly. So
there's over 80 years of fandom between you and I just here. So imagine the people.
Yes, sir. Yeah, thousands of years worth of grief out there. We again, if we always say this, we get a new regime, we get a new front office, if these guys can be guys, if they can turn around, we can actually see ourselves be in a really good position right now. Joe Douglas, I like what he's doing. We'll see what happens with the coaching situation, but as of right now, with the players that we brought in, if we're just talking about it from a personnel standpoint, I like our guys. We don't have a lot, like I said, we may not have a lot of superstars, but if we have a lot of guys that can get the job done, that's really what it is that you need to win, man. That's the Patriots have done that for years. So I think we're in a pretty good position right now. I like these guys.
Yeah, absolutely. So now let's go to the weak side linebacker, and I'm very interested to hear your take on this one. Okay, for starter, Jabari Zuniga, my boy from the University of Florida. All right, Terrell Basham backing him up. And then you have Ahmad Gooden and Wyatt Ray.
Yeah. I'm going to be honest with you. I like Ahmad Gooden. Just give me a minute on that. I think if when we see them play, I think he's got some physical attributes that will make him stand out. We'll see how that works again. But as far as the starter is concerned, Jabari Zuniga, if he can play even similarly to what it is that we get from Jordan Jenkins on the other side, our defense is going to be filthy. Our defense is going to be disgusting. It will be top 10 defense, and I'm just going to say that with all confidence because I really do believe that that's the case. Zuniga is an interesting player right now. To give him the starting role, I think that speaks volumes about what they think about this kid, even before they see him. I do like Basham, and I mean, again in the media, they've talked about some of what it is that these guys did last season in roles that they probably shouldn't have been in as starters, but. Again, these guys aren't supposed to be starters, and we still top 7 defense. So, I mean, think about that now. To say that we bring in guys that are better than that are going to be consistently better than that, and still have these guys on the team, we're going to kill. I like this. Again, if the 457 time I've said it today, I think our linebacker room is stacked, man. I think we really are. In a really good position. And that's even before we got to the addition of Jabari Zuniga, who is quite possibly an X factor and that has the skill and talent to really, especially in this defense, to make some serious noise. And when you can't double team them because, you got guys on the other side, you got guys that, in the safety position that also, kind of add pressure, put pressure. Man, this is going to be ugly. It really could be.
Well, it could be ugly in a good way for the New York Jets. Now, as far as that rotation is concerned, I think I'll put, going off of your assessment of Ahmad Gooden, I think we'll put him we'll put Basham at 2 and put Gooden at 2A for all fairness. Yeah. And then Wyatt Ray, again, I've never seen him play. I haven't seen Gooden play, but if you're giving him a glowing
I think I watched a little bit of him, and when you hear a name, it sparks your interest. I haven't heard that name before. I'm not going to say it's a huge name, but I think again we've got guys, man. I think we have guys that physically are talented enough to make plays. I think the coaching situation is going to be interesting, but to have these guys in the mix, I think is important. The undrafted free agents, I think some of those guys are going to be able to make noise, even if it's not here. I think some of those guys you're going to end up still seeing some of their names around the league after this season is up.
All right. Well, now that takes care of the linebacking course. So now we're going to switch gears to the secondary
Good.
as
Solid.
we take a look at that. So let's start with the right cornerback. Okay,
Yeah.
we've got Blesson Austin as the starter, Brian Poole backing him up, and then an interesting battle for the third. Quincy Wilson, Nate Hairston, Javelin Guidry, and Shaheem Carter.
Yeah. There's too many names there, and I'm just going to keep it real. At this point, we know that Brian Poole is our number one slot receiver, slot corner. Excuse me, pardon me. And with that being said, I think that changes how it is that you look at the names on the list. If Bless can stay healthy, we'll see what it is that he can do. He played well in spots last season, but obviously a really small sample size, and we've actually added quite a bit of competition in the room as of right now. I still am afraid of double surgeries on that same, on the legs. So to me, that is a huge red flag. I don't want to jinx the kid because I love the way that he played as a cornerback myself. He's got the right attitude, and if he can stay healthy, I think he can actually step up and be the guy that we need. All of the names: Javelin Guidry, Quincy Wilson, Hairston, Mollett, and I know we've got different sides, but with as much competition as what was added, coming from the bare cupboard that, like I said, we talked about earlier that we had. All of these names are interesting. All of them are interesting because we don't know, man. From year to year, these young guys step up. The skill sets change because the receivers, the offenses are changing. We've got some speedy guys. We've got some long guys. We've got guys that can, press man. We've got guys that, are suited to play zone. We've got a lot of competition, and this position in particular is one that's going to be up in the air. Would I put Bless as number one right now? I don't know. Pierre Desir's here. We don't know where they're going to put him. Again, we just re-signed Mollett. We don't know what's going on with that. Hairston's here. Hairston played well again in pieces last season, maybe not just enough to stand out. But we also know that Bless got benched last season, and we don't know really the extent of how that's going to impact what happens going forward. There's a lot of names, CJ. I don't want to talk about that all day. Because I could say that all of them have, all of them have a shot. Some maybe more than others, but all of that list is intriguing. As of right now, I would want to give Bless the benefit of the doubt. We'll see how it shakes out.
Yeah, as far as the names on this list, believe it or not, I mean, for the depth chart, I think that Quincy Wilson does deserve to be at the top of the 3 spot. Now, Hairston, just because he's been on the roster, I mean, he played decent in spots last year, but spots. I still don't think personally that he's guaranteed a roster spot. So, and I'm curious to see exactly how Guidry and Carter will perform, but I think if there's one thing that I would change, I would maybe swap Poole, have him start, and have Austin back him up. Only not because of talent, because of experience. I think that Poole's got the upper hand as far as the experience is concerned. I think that there are a lot of different things that they can do, and with Poole, and I do believe Bless Austin can eventually take that starting role. I do. Yeah. I think at some point during the season, that starting role is going to be given to Bless Austin. Now, the question is, can he build off the progress that he had last year? Yeah. Can he eliminate some of the mental mistakes that he made last year, which caused him to get benched? So that's a big.
Yeah, he's a rookie. So he's a rookie. He's a rookie coming in with less experience because of the injury.
Right.
If he can step up, I think he takes the starting spot. We'll see again. We'll see if he stays.
All right. So now, as we move on to the left cornerback position, you're looking at Pierre Desir as your starter, which that makes sense. Arthur Mollett backing him up, and then coming down to Bryce Hall, Lamar Jackson, and Kyron Brown. What are your thoughts?
A lot of names. a lot of talent, a lot of uncertainty. But what I guess should be a lot of excitement, because I'll be honest with you, when you have many names and that many guys that are similar, similarly talented, I guess, in a situation where your flexibility and your versatility, I think, will be beneficial for you, especially in a Greg Williams. I think this is going to be crazy. There's too many names right now. I'll just be honest with you. There's so many names. Are we going to carry 8 DBs, next season? A lot of guys. I mean, I'll be honest. I would love to have this conversation if it was the second or third game of preseason and we had, some battles and to go through and to inspect and dissect. Because we do have talent guys. A lot of these guys were on a lot of people's radars, and for good reason. And especially where we're coming from last season, where, again, we had Tremaine Johnson, who's a $40 million cornerback, who was literally probably the worst on the roster, a scrub.
Oh my God!
We added a lot of guys. We'll
what
see
an
how it shakes
albatross
out.
of a contract that was. And I mean, Tremaine Johnson was just
yeah,
he was god awful. He was god awful. It was almost embarrassing, and he deserved to get benched last year. And I'm glad that they did, because I think that they would have continued to play him. It probably would have been a lot worse than it originally was. Because, I mean, the whole purpose that Tremaine Johnson was excited about Greg Williams coming here was he had some of his best seasons under Greg Williams. And it's like, well, Greg Williams is here. What's your excuse now?
Yeah.
You got paid a monster contract to perform, and you didn't.
Yeah.
And these are some of the things where I get sick and tired of saying that the New York Jets are the old age retirement home for the NFL. Players that have lost a step, they're on the downslope of their career. I see you laughing over there, but it's true. Okay, they pass out Geritol in the locker rooms. All right, come on now. We've had this conversation. Okay, I mean, the New York Jets are not the old age retirement home of the NFL. We can't just continue to sign people because they're big name and their best days are behind them. So we can't. We need to put a competitive product on the field. Okay? Not a geriatric team.
We knew. And as of right now, I think that again is part of, I think, what Joe Douglas has done this past offseason with the draft picks he did. This is what we were hoping to see. This is kind of what it is that we've needed over the course of these past seasons that we haven't seen. What 30 on that McCagnon draft class were or excuse me, the draft class. If Joe Douglas can continue to build the foundation of this the way that we're seeing, with a couple of seasons, I don't think there's going to be a question. We'll have the most solid rosters, the narrative around how it is that we do every single change. I like a lot of the names. We just need to see if things are going to, or excuse me, if those players are going to translate into consistent play.
Right. Yeah, I completely agree. And dude, I'm sitting here trying to contain my laughter over here because it sounds like that Skynet's trying to take over your video feed. So you were starting to sound like RoboCop there for a little bit.
I was about to say, he's breaking up, right? Breaking it up. Can you hear me?
Yep, I can hear you good now. So I think maybe
is that me? Like, I'm looking. Yeah, I was about to say I'm looking pretty good over here. I'm having any lag. It popped and then it just came right back in.
So that's okay. All right, tinker around with your settings. We'll keep going on. Now we'll start talking about the strong safeties. Okay, yeah. Jamal Adams as your starter, Marcus May right behind him, and then Bennett Jackson. Problem with that rotation or not?
I think so. I'll just be honest with you. I think that again, we've got guys that are capable. We'll see who needs to step up and better, to separate or to distinguish themselves as the constant guy or the continuous guy. But I think that all of those guys have an opportunity to play well. I think we're probably going to have a committee defense. We'll have the big names, the Mosleys, the Adams. We'll have the Mays. We'll have the Williamsons. I think we'll have the Williams if Quinnen does well, or we'll have Clendons. We'll have those guys that are mainstay names. But as far as our defensive backfield concerned, all of those guys are going to be new guys. So they're going to be guys that we haven't had play well here because they haven't been here. So we'll see how the final product looks. But I'll just be honest. I think we do have a lot of guys that need to make plays on occasion. They don't have to be great every single play. And I think we have guys who can actually do that. As far as the chart is concerned, again, I think there's going to be some swap. I think there's going to be some flip. I think that anybody's going to be the same. I think it's going to be a rotation. Everybody's going to play well in spots. That's what I believe.
Yeah, speaking of which, now, speaking of rotation, this is where we're going to go into free safety now. You have Marcus May actually starting as your free safety. Okay, Ashton Davis behind him, which I kind of like. All right, and then you have Matthias Farley and then Anthony Siafi. Now, Anthony Siafi, I've heard a lot of very good things about him. Very good in pass coverage. Can also play very well in run support. So, kind of want to get your gauge on what do you think?
Yeah, I'll be honest with you. I like Jaffee. There was a time last season, and I'm just running through something because it's popping into my head right now. But we were watching a little film, and we kind of noticed that he was making plays here, he's making plays there, and I think, again, when you're talking about building the defense the way that we need to, you have guys that can pop and make plays in spots. And we noticed, again, the same with Burgess, the same with Basham, the same with Kyle Phillips, the same with Felipe Adekasi, the same with Nathan Shepard. These guys were popping and were making plays. And it's like, oh yeah, this is new for us. We didn't have this before. These are new guys, young guys, qualified, capable guys, thirsty, hungry guys. All of these names, they're all kind of putting me in the same mind. Like, any questions about the New York Jets going forward, and the product that we put on the field, I think is not going to be a part of the defense, or I don't think it's actually going to be part of the special teams. And I know this is a defensive show, and I know we should be addressing it. We should be talking about it, and we'll continue to. But if I have a question, if there's a negative aspect of anything about this team going forward, it's going to be the offense. The defense, I'm going to be honest, I think we are top 5 defense. I think so. One of the best defenses in the league. You. I think we're going to be in that conversation. I think that's where we're going to be. So see. Again, you keep throwing these names. I'm just thinking they're done behind some of these guys. There's none behind some of these guys. There's a history of plays for guys that were making plays in a starter role that they're not starters. They shouldn't have been starters. And now we've got guys that are better that are going to be starters. The second tier, the third tier guys, now they can fall back into those roles. Make plays when they need to, and if that's what it is that we have, I think there's going to be some people that are going to look at this defense next season and be like, I don't necessarily know if Kansas City is going to run all over us like Kansas City ran all over some teams last season. I think Kansas City is going to look at our defense and be like, we don't play our A game. The Jets are going to kick our ass.
Yeah, and you know what? I agree. That's I made an appearance yesterday on Courtney Harden's podcast called The Real Deal. I invite everyone to go and check it out. And I had the privilege of being able to talk about I had the privilege of being able to talk about the New York Jets defense a little bit on there. And just like you said, a top 5 defense, I believe they can be a top 5 defense. And also, as in regards to the New York Jets schedule, And I made a comment about this on Facebook earlier today. I really don't think that this schedule is as bad as people are making it out to be. I really don't. I think that they're just looking at this mountain from a way where everyone just wants to be negative when it comes to the New York Jets. Oh, the Jets are going to have issues with this. The Jets are going to have issues with that. The Jets are going to have issues with the other thing. And it's all based on how the team performed last year. All right? Well, the team's offense stunk last year, except for certain games like the Dallas Cowboy game, the Washington Redskins game, the Oakland Raiders game. But we still showed up to play. And we still ended up finishing our season 6-2. Granted, we finished the year playing the junior varsity Bills in a game that they really didn't need. But who cares? You play who's on your schedule. All right?
Yeah.
And the games really that kind of interest me that are going to be a real true litmus test for this New York Jets football team are the San Francisco 49ers on week 2. All right? The Kansas City Chiefs later in the season, the Denver Broncos, the Arizona Cardinals, because they're two big question marks. Two teams that they've made a lot of changes, but the arrows are pointing in the right direction. And the Broncos have always had a tough defense. The Cardinals and Kyler Murray and Cliff Kingsbury down there. Kyler Murray is a dangerous quarterback, but we really don't know
we're gonna
get with him. But I mean, you go and you take a look at some of the other
teams. We're gonna be tested week to week. Yeah.
Right. And here's another thing, too. When you go and take a look at the Jets' schedule, against the AFC East, at the minimum, I expect the Jets to go 3-3, possibly 4-2. I expect them to sweep the Dolphins, even though the Dolphins are much improved. I just don't think that the Dolphins are where I believe the Jets are right now. They added a lot of pieces. They have the potential to be very good. But I think that this New York Jets team, on paper, if they perform the way that they're supposed to, we should be able to take care of business against the Dolphins. We should be able to split against the Buffalo Bills, which we seem to do every year. And we should be able to split against the now Cam Newton-led New England Patriots, where we don't even know what type of Cam Newton's going to show up. You know, and I'll put this out there too, because everybody seems to
there's
now
no
be
film.
jumping on the New England Patriot bandwagon again. Ooh, the Patriots are back. Yeah. Ooh, Cam Newton, Belichick. Ooh. Listen, okay? Since Cam Newton played in the Super Bowl, and there are stats to go and back this up, Cam Newton every year since he played in the Super Bowl has taken a step back. And on top of it, he's got a Liz Frank injury, which is very, very difficult to come back from in this league. What type of offense do the New England Patriots like to run? They like to run a ground and pound offense. Why? Because they want to control the clock. Because the longer they grind your defense into the ground, the more they can take advantage of you. Okay? And this is where the New York Jets defense has to grow a set of balls and get those 3 and outs when you need the 3 and outs the most. Because we are not going to win football games spending 60 to 70% of our defense on the field. We've had this talk for the past 10 years. It's been the same garbage. 10 years. Okay, and what do? Oh, let's bring an offensive-minded coach in. He's got his head so far up his ass, you turn him sideways, he looks like the letter Q. I mean, really. And everybody wants to blame Sam Darnold. Oh, Sam Darnold's a bust. Sam Darnold's a bust. Look what Sam Darnold's got to work with. The 31st ranked and the 32nd ranked offensive line. Do you think if I put Patrick Mahomes behind the Jets offensive line last year that took the field, do you think Patrick Mahomes has the stats that he has last year? Tell me the truth.
No.
Right. Yeah, the answer is a big fat no. Okay? You put Tom Brady behind this offensive line. Does Tom Brady have the stats that he has last year?
No.
No. Okay. We gonna who else do you want me to put in?
No one.
You want me to put Russell Wilson in?
That type
Do you want me to put Jimmy Garoppolo in?
Doesn't make a difference.
Breeze. Name your quarterback.
Doesn't make a difference.
Right. So how can we consciously sit here and say that Sam Darnold is a bust when you give him nothing to work with?
Yeah.
How?
That's premature. We obviously know that's premature. There's no way somebody can expect that something like that is realistic. So we'll give to this. We have an opportunity right now. Just if the defense can be a top 5 defense. The special teams, which has routinely over the course of the past couple of years been tops in leagues, since Brent Boyer has been here. And we also we need to keep an eye on him also, because Brent Boyer is actually going to be a candidate for somebody else's coaching position. We're going to need to be smart about how we handle him also. But we have in this moment right now so many questions. Sam Darnold and Josh Allen are vacationing and they're working out with Jordan Palmer right now together in the offseason. But as far as I'm concerned, if Sam Darnold isn't giving him the side eye looking at Josh Allen like this clown, I'm going to completely and totally embarrass him every single time that we play him this season. I think that it's wasted time. Sam Darnold, I think, is going to be a better quarterback than every other quarterback that's in the AFC East as of right now. I do believe that. But Josh Allen right now has a better team. The Patriots, they have a better team. Cam Newton, to be quite honest with you, may actually be better than Sam Darnold at this point in his career, specifically because he has the experience that he has, and Sam is still kind of making bonehead throws, even though Cam does that too. But I still think that over the course of time, I think Sam can actually be better. I think that we may actually end up having a better offensive line situation this season. We'll see how that shakes out also. But this is going to be exciting, CJ, to the point when you say 4-2 in the AFC East this season. I think that's possible too. I do think we split, and I think that we split because nobody has film on anybody. Nobody knows what it is that we're to do. And then towards the end of the season, when it starts to become a little bit more apparent who is what and what they look like, I think that's when we beat some of those teams.
Yeah, I completely agree, and this is the reason why. Like when I see people, both on Facebook and on Twitter and on other social media outlets, saying that like, the Jets are maybe going to go 5-11. They're going to go 6-10. They're going to struggle. I mean, look, if the Jets were to go 5-11 or 6-10, then Adam Gase deserves to be fired. There's no question whatsoever. Because with this team and with this schedule that the Jets are facing, if the Jets want to consider themselves a playoff contender. Okay, hear me out, because I see the look on your face. You're getting ready to give me some wisdom. So, hear me out, though. If the New York Jets, are going to consider themselves a playoff team or ready for the playoffs, then guess what? You have to beat teams like the Seahawks, the Kansas City Chiefs, the Oakland Raiders, the San Francisco 49ers. Yeah. You need to be competitive against these teams, not have them come into your building.
I'm so afraid. I'm so afraid right now. Yeah.
Right? Which means
I get it.
Needs to produce. Sam Darnold cannot be on national television saying, I see ghosts. Right? Am I right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Running for his life. Running for his life. But see, that's I feel you. I just hate the word playoffs when Adam Gase is our head coach.
Look, I do too, but you know what?
That's the biggest problem that I have. I just just because I keep saying, and I said this earlier, I think it's really scary for Jets fans to have expectations because Murphy's Law basically should be stitched and tattooed into every single one of our hats. Whatever happens, or the worst possible damn thing that could happen is going to happen when it comes
Right.
to this team. And again, I wish I could go with you. And really, I believe that we have. I'm just afraid of. I'm afraid right now. Playoffs. I feel like I'm going to jinx it if I say I feel like we're going to go to the playoffs. I'm going to
Here's
jinx
the
it.
reason
And
why I
gonna
say
we're going to go.
we need to be we need to be able to make a playoff push, okay? Because
Yeah.
the whole purpose that Adam Gase was brought here was to work with Sam Darnold and to turn the New York Jets into a playoff team. Am I right? Those were the words of Christopher Johnson during his hiring process, right? Christopher Johnson he was interested in winning football games. He doesn't want to win. He didn't want to win the media battle, right? The Jets, all of a sudden, we don't want to win the media battle. We want to win football games.
Yeah.
Okay. Well,
we'll get into that a little bit later.
Here's what Joe Douglas did. Okay, Joe Douglas went and spent considerable amount of resources with what he had to rebuild the offensive line. All right? He made smart signings. He made very smart one-year show-me deals. And his rationale for it is if you want to be here for the glory days, then you need to work your ass off during the rebuilding. Don't just celebrate the glory and have somebody else do all the hard work. Wasn't that pretty much the gist of what we've been hearing since Joe Douglas has been GM this entire offseason? Because that's the way how I interpreted it.
Yeah, that's what we heard.
Right. So now I'm also thinking that a conversation has been had between Joe Douglas and Adam Gase behind closed doors.
Yeah. Hopefully.
That these are the pieces of the puzzle. I expect you to put them together. And if Adam Gase cannot put the pieces of the puzzle together with a clearly revamped roster that took the field last year, okay, a much better offensive line, which took the field last year,
yes.
If he cannot get this offensive unit off the ground, then heads need to roll. Then he needs to go.
Period.
Then Roggins needs to go. Then Cooter needs to go. And
Period.
Pollock needs to go. Plain and simple.
The entire offensive staff.
Right. Your entire
is on the hot seat
offensive
as of right
offensive
now.
coaching staff,
and
including the head coach, needs to go.
Entirely.
And then either you give the keys to Greg Williams and you say this is your ship, you drive it, or you make a play for Eric Bieniemy.
Yeah.
I mean,
I think there's gonna be some hard questions about that. There's gonna be some hard questions about that though, CJ. And I think because both of them have a little bit of baggage with the talking points that are gonna get thrown around when it comes time to consider who is going to be, especially because Greg Williams is so beloved by the fans, but he does have some history with him. And I think it's going to be part of the discussion. Bieniemy and some of the questions about his experience and behind Andy Reid and all of that there's going to be some dirt flung on him also. So I don't think it's really as cut and dry as that, but I hope that it is. Those two guys, if it came down to either one of those two guys, honestly, I would be happy with the outcome. So I'm looking forward to that. We're gonna continue to talk about this a little further, and then I'll save some of the remainder of my comments for how ownership handles some of this stuff. Also, is going to be really important.
right. Yeah, I completely agree. So we'll with that, let's just go head first into our next segment. You're listening to Weapons Hot, a New York Jets fan broadcast here on the Worldwide Sports Radio Network and also on Sports War Radio. Be sure to follow the show at CNC Jets Factor. Me, CJ the Painkiller, D Simone at Jets Fan 0523. My partner in crime at Spotty Blackman on Twitter. So as we move over into our second segment now, it really is becoming evident as we get closer and closer to July 28th, in which everyone is supposed to report for training camp. Training camps is supposed to open. All right? There's been a lot of talk apparently about the NFL season being in doubt. And someone has some really the biggest person right now on behalf of the players who's speaking out is J.J. Watt. And he basically has said that the players want to play, but they feel like that they don't have a clear enough plan being laid out in front of them as to how the NFL is going to handle and dictate protocol during this COVID-19 pandemic. So I'm really curious as to what your thoughts are with this. And do you see us having a football season in 2020, or could you see the potential for it being delayed?
It's totally up in the air. If I have to, go into my head, I have to give my own thoughts on this. I think they're going to try it. I think there is a lot of incentive for it to happen, not just economically, business-wise, as far as teams are concerned, but for morale, politically, over the course of what's going on with the country right now. I think that there will be a big push. I think how issues that come about, like infections and things of that nature, how that actually is handled, I think it's gonna really play a big part in if there is an if we're allowed to have a full season, or if we have a few games and then unfortunately we have to shut it down, and then maybe there end up having to be some sort of hastily, weirdly constructed playoffs, after, who knows really what it's going to be. I'll just be honest. The uncertainty is ridiculous, because this is a situation that we've never dealt with before with the COVID-19. It's a situation that obviously the scientists are not ready for, because they haven't put a plan in place at this point in time that is able to protect these players specifically. We don't have a vaccine or anything like that. So the danger that these guys are putting themselves in is apparent. It's obvious. And it's unfortunately, it can't be avoided if we move forward with it the way that it is. Or will we attempt to have a season? I believe that we will. Will we have a full season? That's really extremely difficult to say. I don't know. I hope so. But as of right now, I don't necessarily believe that we will. I believe we're going to have some, but I believe we're going to end up having it shortened, because at this point in time, we don't have any leadership on what should look like contingencies if difficulties do arise. I don't think we have that. So hopefully, fingers crossed, we do have some, just any. But if I'm being realistic, I doubt we probably do.
Well, I wanted to share this with you because I really think that this is something that we really need to address. I want to give credit to Dan Graziano and Kevin Seifert on ESPN's NFL page as they talk about the plan to kickstart the NFL season despite the coronavirus pandemic. And just one of the things that Jeff Pash has already come out with, which kind of piqued a little bit of my interest, was all of our discussions, all of our focus has been on a normal traditional season, starting on time, playing in front of fans in our regular stadiums, and going to a full 16-game regular season and a full set of playoffs. That's our focus. And then what really, really interests me is Dr. Alan Sills, who is the NFL's chief medical officer. Now, one thing about the NFL's chief medical officer, if you go into Webster's dictionary and you look up the word arrogant, you will see a picture of Dr. Alan Sills right next to it. Okay? Because the NFL seems to think that it does not matter if there's a global pandemic, if there's an alien invasion, if there's some sort of like natural disaster, okay? Everything's going to bend to football, according to Dr. Alan Sills. And this is why. I want to read this part to you and see if you find this just as amusing as I do. Okay, Dr. Alan Simmons, the NFL's chief medical officer, said recently that the NFL hopes to plow a road for the entire country as it deals with the pandemic.
Yeah.
And I quote, "I think this is important not just for the NFL or for professional sports, not even for sports at all levels." Still said at a virtual meeting at the American Orthopedic Society for Sports Medicine. Another interesting little conference there, but I digress. "I think what we are trying to do is find a way to mitigate risk and to coexist with the virus. This is really key information for schools, for businesses, and all segments of society. I think we have a unique opportunity, but also a responsibility to use the platform and the resources of the NFL to really study and learn and to take that knowledge and apply it to the benefit of the other segments of society. That is what we plan to do."
Yeah.
Now this, if you've gone and read the actual 42-page document that the NFL released on their whole COVID-19 protocol policy, right, the expression on your face just said it all. It's just like, what planet do you live on, dude?
Right.
The NHL so far has probably been the most successful in their quote-unquote bubble format with hub cities, and they are going to start playing live games very, very soon. Okay? Major League Baseball is going on with their exhibition games right now as we speak with no fans in the stands and constant and routine temperature
Pretty exciting
checks.
highlights.
Right. And routine temperature checks which need to happen because of this COVID-19 pandemic. Where on God's green earth does the NFL think that they're going to be exempt from this? And on top of it, J.J. Watt has already said that he refuses to play with the new NFL face shield helmet. Okay?
Yeah.
So, how are they going to pull this off? How? Tell me.
I said, I don't know. It's going to be hard. It's going to be hard. Again, the science is not there right now for it. The protocols, the safety features built into how it is that these guys need to live is not there. Until it is there, I mean, even if we do have games, I think we're going to have guys that are going to decide to opt out. What do they say? You have to opt out in writing by August 1st. So the course of these next couple of weeks, it's really going to speak volumes. It's really going to say a lot. Let's see how many people decide that, I'm not going to put my family at risk because these guys haven't got their shit together when it comes to how they're going to protect us. That's the issue.
Right. I completely agree. So this is where, again, as much as I think that the NFL does have good intentions, and I really do think in my heart of hearts that a training camp will in fact start on July 28th. Okay, the only thing is that how does the NFL how's the NFL going to deal with the fact that as soon as training camp opens and as the days progress, the numbers of coronavirus cases or those that test positive are going to increase? It's not going to be foolproof. If the NFL pulls off 25% of their COVID-19 plan that they have, I'll be impressed. I really will.
Wow.
Because then that'll mean that they've properly instructed and trained their personnel what to look for. Their chief medical officer is overseeing all of this, which means that now we have an infectious disease person who is going to be assigned for each and every one of the 32 football teams, okay, who all players have to report to, regardless whether you test positive or not, for temperature checks, for routine checks, for questionnaires, everything. Now, if all the players get on board with this, okay, I really think that they can actually pull this off. It'll be a miracle. but you know
Yeah.
that not all parts like to play in the sandbox correctly or play together
No, I get
they're
that.
supposed to.
Exactly. I get
Okay.
that. That kind of the points that you're making, CJ, are really those are intelligent um, solutions for the difficulties that these guys are going to face. So that kind of goes back to the point about me saying that they haven't done anything that they've needed to make sure that these guys are safe. If they did any of that, that would make it safe. That would make it if not uh, easy to at least contain, it would be at least easy to control that environment enough to keep even if there are one or two people that do come into contact with it, it doesn't actually blow and explode and make every running back in the running back room is now sick. Every wide receiver in the wide receiver room is now sick. Now all of the coaches who are during a coaches meeting, now they're all sick. The players may not be sick, the coaches might be sick. If the coaches do get sick and then they end up spreading it out to the team, the contingencies that they need to have in those cases are what it is that we need to hear from them being communicated. And that's what we're not hearing. If they do that, then we're in good shape, and that will give us an opportunity to see this thing spread out. Hopefully they're listening to what it is that you're saying. We need to send a video to this to somebody so they can get it together.
Right. I would totally dig that. That would be awesome. So, I mean, it's just a little bit of common sense. But also, I wanted to get your thought on what if the NFL, to mitigate this, in my opinion, increase the roster from 53 to 70? Would you think that that's an acceptable number in case that you do have one team or two teams or three teams that
Yeah.
end up having multiple cases of multiple cases of players testing positive for COVID, which may now hamper their ability to be able to field a fully competitive football team?
Yeah,
What are
man.
your thoughts?
I personally think that the kitchen sink approach would work best in this situation.
Right,
Um,
96 for the full
yeah, I
62
know.
games.
Yeah, literally, just as much as possible, whatever it is that we can do to ensure not only player safety, but maybe some continuity, maybe and I mean, when I say safety, I don't necessarily just mean from the virus in particular. I mean from physical injury, because there's going to be less practice, because there's less prep time. There's uh, less workout time, because of some of the other that would arise. So again, do as much as possible. Not only that, but if you expand the roster the way that you're talking about, then what it is that you have is more guys have an opportunity to make a name for themselves, and that always expands competition and always is a better product for the league. So it's a win-win if they can pull it off.
All right. Yeah, I could live with that because I think that personally this was something that I had brought up on Courtney Harden's show yesterday, The Real Deal, was the possibility of having the regular season go through with a full 96-man roster, and then as the playoffs, as we get closer to the playoffs, maybe have at the 75% of the season, or 75% point of the season, drop it down to 70, because by then maybe the COVID-19 cases will have taken a dip, or will have dropped.
If we can get that far, yeah.
Right, if we can get that far out. Or play with a full 96-man roster for the regular season, and then when the playoffs come, you have to have 53. So how Major League Baseball does it.
Yeah. The players union, I'm sure, probably has a better idea about how many players they feel would benefit the teams in this situation. At least I hope they would. The Players Association, some questionable negotiating tactics and some questionable ideas about how things should be run. But something like this, I think they should be able to go to the players. They should be able to find out exactly what it is that they feel. They should give those opportunities. And I'll be honest with you, the whole conversation about the salary cap and all of that, I kind of think that's a bullshit argument to have, just because the teams, man, let's just put it this way. Regardless of what happens, if there's a season or even a limited season, these teams are not going to fold. None of these teams are going to cease to exist and go out of business. None of these teams are going to do that. These guys are billionaires. They know exactly what it is they're doing. So all this conversation about the salary cap and players should take less money because of the team, I think that's a bullshit argument. I think what they should do is they should recognize that no team is going to be good without their players, and that these guys are the ones that are assuming all the risk. They need to go ahead and put this shit together and let these guys get back out to doing what it is that we need to do. But they need to do it smart. They need to speak to the people that they need to get it done, to make it happen, because the guys want to play. They just need to know that that the teams recognize the importance and the value that they bring to the table, and that they're going to do something about it. To J.J. Watt's point, I think when you said that he's the one that's been talking about it, I think he made all of the necessary touch points available to anybody that has any questions. That really should be it. Let's get it going. We need football. Well, we want football. I'm not going to say we need anything. We want football. I know.
Mm-hmm. And speaking of football, it is now time for one of my most favorite parts of the show. This is where it is now time for the Emmy Award nominated section of the show, hosted by yours truly. It's time for Kevin Jackson to take us in the spotlight.
I love it. I love it.
Spotty, who do we got in the spotlight today? Talk to me.
All right. I kind of alluded to this earlier, but in the spotlight tonight, ladies and gentlemen, Woody Johnson. Just follow me on this. Okay. There's a lot going on. As far as the COVID-19. There's a lot going on as far as player personnel is concerned, illness and contracts and all of these different things. And a lot has been said about how this team in particular has handled not only the GM situation, the coaching situation, how it is that we're going to handle COVID situation going forward, teams and all the other things. Something that I think is going to be playing an extremely integral part in how all of this shakes out going forward is going to be Woody Johnson. Chris has been here. Chris has done some things that we kind of lauded and we applauded and we thought, maybe he could handle it. Then he's done some things that just made you think, who the hell is this guy and why is it that even Woody, who we've all, taken shots at in the past, Woody would leave this guy in charge, right? So I think Woody coming back at some point is going to have to happen, but Woody is also going to have to be involved with some of the decision-making process going forward, because I don't think Chris is there on that level to be able to do that without Woody's input. Woody Johnson is going to have a direct impact on what goes on with Sam Darnold's contract. I think Woody Johnson is going to have a direct and hopefully intelligent impact on what happens with Adam Gase in his situation going forward. Woody Johnson is as big an X factor off the field as I think Chris Herndon and what the offensive line is going to do on the field next season. Woody Gase is I keep saying Woody Gase because I think those two are tied. I think Woody Johnson right now is really going to Woody's going to be a guy that we have to keep our eyes on. We have to keep our eyes on this guy because what he does is going to directly impact what is right now, unfortunately, kind of a volatile and a shaky situation just because of the uncertainty that we have with the biggest decisions that we're going to make, our head coach and our quarterback. So Woody Gase is in the spotlight this week. CJ, I know it may seem like, it might be something random to think about, but I think it's a little closer than what it is that, maybe we're thinking that it is. What do you think? Am I way off base with this one?
No, not at all. I think that Woody Johnson is going to have a very difficult decision to make at the end of this season if if the season goes sideways. Let me rephrase this. If the season goes sideways, Woody Johnson's decision should be as crystal clear as glass. Okay? Yeah. Adam Gase did not do what he was hired to do, which was get this team competitive again and to the playoffs. And I think that any person outside of Woody Johnson with a functional brain cell, okay, can see that the issues on this team are not defensive. They are offensive. Has nothing to do with Sam Darnold's inability to get the ball to his weapons. It does not have to do with our wide receiving core and not being able to catch passes from Sam Darnold. But if our offensive line doesn't hold up, if in critical third and short situations, your key players that you need, like Le'Veon Bell, are not getting the ball to help to move the chains, then there's a problem. If you have a head coach that's not using the best weapons on the football team in order for him to get a win week in and week out, then there should be questions.
We're going to struggle.
Right. So I will rewind back to a point that I made earlier in the show with Joe Douglas talking to Adam Gase behind closed doors. He has given him a moderately upgraded roster. It is up to Adam Gase to put the pieces of this very complex puzzle together and to pick and make a competitive football team out of it. And if he is not the man to do it, then Joe Douglas should be given the freedom to choose who should do it. Because if you notice, Joe Douglas got a longer contract than Adam Gase. So, which leads me to believe that people could say, well, Adam Gase got Joe Douglas the job, they're connected at the hip. No. I think at any time, if this ship is going sideways, and Woody Johnson and Christopher Johnson are as committed to winning as they say, and if they know that this ship is going sideways, and Adam Gase is the reason why, because of shoddy play calling, because of poor personnel management, then he needs to be shown the door.
I agree. I think that part of what it is that I think the difficulty with this team is that we really don't know what's going on internally, and that was something that we talked about a few years back as being a good thing, being something that being something that we kind of had some questions about, and I did. But that in particular is I think it's going to be a really big question about how it is that we proceed going forward. So, as impactful as this will be, Woody, I think Woody might have his finger on the scale a little bit in terms of if Joe Douglas is going to have the ability to go ahead and pull the trigger when he needs to. That's what it is that I'm a little bit worried about. Yeah, we gave Joe the contract leverage, but is Woody gonna step in and be able to stop something like that from even happening? Even though we've given Joe, I guess, that little inch more than what it is that Adam Gase might have.
Here's the other added caveat: Joe Douglas has 3 Super Bowl rings. That's 3 more than anybody else in that building. So I think that if there is anybody who Woody Johnson should be listening to, it's Mr. Joseph Douglas, the Mountain.
Facts.
Okay? So, ladies and gentlemen, this is going to do it for tonight's episode of Weapons Hot, a New York Jets fan broadcast. Jax, this has been an awesome show.
Outstanding.
It really has been. So,
it has. I'm gonna do a little bit better about my lighting over here. I got some work to do.
Hey, listen, I'm just glad I could see you this week. So, ladies and gentlemen,
Right.
you want to follow the show on Twitter at CNC Jets Factor. You can follow me at JetsFan0523. My partner in crime on the other side of the board over there, Mr. Kevin Jackson at Spotty Blackman. Shoot the show an email at weaponshot.podcast@gmail.com. Of course, you can find us on Sports War Radio, SoundCloud.com, and most importantly, on the Worldwide Sports Radio Network. I also would like to thank the show's sponsor, StatementGames.com. Be sure to go and check them out. Be sure to go to Worldwide Sports Radio Network and like on their page, subscribe, and you will get alerts whenever Weapons Hot or other programs on the Worldwide Sports Radio Network go live on your feed. And that's what you need to do, ladies and gentlemen.
Here we go.
So, for Mr. Kevin Jackson, for StatementGames.com, the Worldwide Sports Radio Network, this is CJ the Painkiller D. Simone signing off for tonight. We will see you guys when we see you guys. Peace, love, go Jets. And just wait till next week because we've got some surprises in store for all of you. Have a great night, folks.
Guys. Thank you.